Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tighter Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa.
And hello again, everybody, and welcome in to Tighter Insider Television. The United States has had a birthday since the last time we were with you last week. Happy birthday, America, 250 years old. Alongside Rodney Orr from TighterInsider.com, I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. And as I said last week, Rodney, we're kind of at that point, in the summer now where we all are ready for some football. And people do lists and the best this and the best that because we are looking for content. But you did a great piece last week on TighterInsider.com, some potential difference makers for the upcoming season, which I think with your insight and your experience and as long as you've been doing it, carry a little more weight with me. No offense to some of these people that are in their living room with a sign behind them trying to break down Alabama football. But let's get to some of the guys that you feel like can make an impact for this season. And we're going to start with the transfer tight end, Josh Ford. He's big. He's athletic. They feel like he can catch the ball, but he also could be a huge asset in the run game with his blocking.
I think that's the main thing is I think when you look at Josh Ford, first of all, he's got some experience at Oklahoma State. He can catch the ball, but the big physical presence, Gary, 6'6", 260 plus. I think he can really help in this run game.
The offensive line, the blocking in the run game, it's important. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't care how you frame this, whether it was on the offensive line, whether it was on the backs, whether it was on the tight ends, regardless, Alabama's run game needs to be more effective, and it does start up front. And last year, the center, Parker Brailsford, did a nice job. That's why he's in the NFL right now. But you feel like Racing Delgatti is got that pit bull mentality, similar to Brailsford. He's not the biggest guy. You love his athleticism, you love his attitude, and you think he could step in and make an impact at center.
I do. I think all the snaps he played at Cal Poly, and I understand it's a smaller level, but I think he did a really good job based on things we've heard in the spring. I think that he's got a chance to step in and be an instant player here on this offensive line. I think his experience is going to be a real key.
Tell us about Javen James, a tackle. I mean, a guy who, he has not lived up to his potential. Yep. Some would say the film's not that impressive, but he's a physical specimen, Rodney, coming in from Mississippi State. Is he a guy here at Alabama that could finally kind of tap into his talent and become a dominant offensive lineman?
I think he can. Look, I think, you look at the way Alabama really found him was they were watching kind of previewing an upcoming opponent, saw him, and he stood out to them as a guy that has a lot of potential. Then he hit the portal, and now they say, hey, this is a guy we're impressed with. Let's go, see if we can get him here at Alabama. They did. He's athletic. Like you said, he's got really good size. Now he's moved from the left side where he started 9 games last year at Mississippi State to the right side for Alabama. I think he's got a chance to be an impact player. Gary, I think when you look at him, you look at Delgatti, those are two guys that I think can solidify this offensive line or help solidify it.
Yeah, we had a little issue with our offensive line video there, but we saw the receivers pop up. And we know about Lazier Brooks, Rico Scott, Ryan Coleman-Williams, but there's got to be other guys that step up. And a guy who's already flashed has been Derek Meadows. He's long. He's athletic. Remember that hit he took in the Missouri game, but he showed some toughness. You would think, based on those other guys that I mentioned, that his size could make him a little something different in that receiving corps.
I think so. I think, obviously Noah Rogers going down is tough.
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough break. I mean, he's going to miss probably 4 or 5 games or whatever it is. We'll see. But I think one of these young guys has to step up, whether it's Derek Meadows, like you said, he's got great size. The freshman, Terrion Morgan, both those guys had really good A-Day games. I think both of them bring size, speed, playmaking ability. I think the one thing, Gary, is you look at Terrion Morgan, because I know a lot of people are really, really high on him, and rightfully so. I think he's just got to improve as a blocker. That's one thing that he has to adjust to. So how quickly he can do that may be a factor in how much he gets to play early.
Back to the running game. We talked about the offensive line, the tight ends. Clearly, blocking's important. But listen, the backs, you got to run hard. You got to hit the holes. You got to make some plays. Sometimes you got to do it on your own. Now, this is not a news flash. I think everybody's excited about E.J. Crowell out of Jackson High School. He reclassified. He could still be playing another year of high school football, but like Ryan Williams did before him, Ryan Coleman-Williams now, he's coming in here. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see much of him in the spring, but we've seen him in high school. You and I have seen a lot of special talents come through this state at running back. He's one of them.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, when you look at him, we've talked about him several times on the show, Gary. I mean, you look at his size, his speed. He's up to 220 pounds. The thing that I really kind of hate is the fact that he did get injured. He didn't have a chance to go through spring practice, which would have been a great developmental period for him. How quickly can he catch on to all those things that he has to do when the ball's not in his hands? I think those are really going to be key things. But when you look at E.J. Croyle, I'll look at him, Gary, as a guy that eventually he could step in and potentially be a difference maker for this running game.
Let's get to the defense, and we know that from a fan standpoint. Now, I know the back end of this defense is very important with the style that they play, and there's some talent back there. But up front, we talk about the offensive line. And don't get me wrong, Alabama did some good things on the defensive front last year, but I think they need to be better. I think they need to be more consistent, and they're going to look to some transfers to help them there.
Yeah, I think they got some size. They need to be more physical up front. They need to control the line of scrimmage better. I think, people ran it down their throats at times, got physical with them. I think now when you go out, you get some transfers that they got was Kedrick Bingley-Jones. You got Devin Tompkins from USC. You got Terrence Green, of course, from Oregon. Look, I think the things that we're hearing about Devin Tompkins, just his athleticism, Gary, he can be a disruptive player up front. I think he's a guy that can make a really big contribution to the guys they already have. Plus, I really like Terrence Green, the transfer from Oregon. He's 6'6", he's 320-plus pounds, guy that can really maybe control that middle, and that's what they're going to need.
In this scheme, linebacking, I'll be honest with you. I think they've given up some size for speed and athleticism. It feels like they want to keep the speed and athleticism, run side on the sideline, but it looks like based on some of these guys that they brought in, they're trying to get a little bigger there too. It appears to me.
Yeah. Look, I think the one thing I like about the guy we're going to talk about next is Caleb Woodson from Virginia Tech. Just the experience. They need experience at inside linebacker. Got a bunch of young, talented guys. They need someone who's played with experience, got productivity. He got that. He did a great job at made over 120 tackles the last 2 seasons at Virginia Tech. Very, very athletic. So he brings that, but he also brought a tremendous amount of leadership in that spring. Luke Metz is a guy, young player, that really flashed on A-Day.
Has a mean streak.
He does. Luke Metz, and he's around the ball. He's got a nose for the football. And they've got a good young core of linebackers. And look, I don't want to leave out QB Reese either. I think he's a real heady guy. He's got a chance to really play a lot. And I think Duke Johnson, Abdul Sanders, Caden Jones, they've got a group there if they can get them all together.
Yeah, this has got a chance to be a really talented defense. All right, now to the back end, because there's so much talent there. And NIL-wise, they've invested a lot of money in the secondary because they play a lot of guys. But one guy to keep an eye on, you feel like he was here last year, kind of learned the scheme. Ivan Taylor, a much ballyhooed signee that now it feels like is going to be ready to help out that defensive back end.
Yeah, at the end of the year, you watched him against Indiana. He made some plays in that game. He was probably one of the more aggressive players in that game, late in the game, defensively. I think, obviously you got Bray Hubbard, you've got, Sab coming back, you got Zay Mincy, you've got some other guys back there. But I think Ivan Taylor's a guy that's a budding star. Now, again, he's not going to start. We don't think, but having that kind of depth, Gary, you know how they rotate in the secondary. So I think he can be really valuable back there as a rotational guy. And
they're loaded with talent back there, but a transfer could really help out as well. Carmelo O'Neal.
Just 6'4", 210 pounds. This secondary, he fits the bill in terms of the length and the size that they kind of recruit.
Obviously, Jeriah Edwards, Jordan Edmonds as well. We're going to have to skip over the kickers. They're going to battle that out. But one quick note on the quarterbacks. Again, whether it's Mack or Russell, they're going to compete. You're going to have a very talented signal caller, even though inexperienced for Alabama this fall.
They are, but they're very talented. And look, I like Austin Mack a ton. I think, obviously he handled himself really well. I felt like when he came in the Indiana game, Gary, I didn't see any signs of nerves. I thought he played with a lot of confidence. He's got a big, big arm. Here's the thing. I think if Kalen Russell, when you look at him, he just seems to be one of those guys that can elevate the players around him. And again, I'm not making a prediction here on who's going to be the quarterback. Have all the respect in the world for what Austin Mack can do. But Kalen Russell, man, he just looks like he's a guy that he could be that Bryce Young, Tua type guy that elevates everyone around him.
And wrapping this up, a lot of discussion on your board, TiderInsider.com, about the roster. Is it good enough? Only one team's going to win the national championship. I said this on the radio show with you yesterday. I think this team is talented enough, the roster's talented enough to compete for the national championship, be in the conversation and have a chance.
Yeah, I think, again, if the offensive line can come around, you get the running game going, one of the quarterbacks really takes the bull by the horns, I think certainly the offense could take a big jump. Defensively, it sounds like they feel like this is going to be the best defense they've had. Maybe the best defense that's been around here in a few years. So put it all together, and again, we didn't mention the place kickers. I'm not going to comment on the battle between Connor Talty and Lorcan Quinn, but I really like Lorcan Quinn's
he looked good in the
ability.
spring. He really did. All right, now it's time for Coach Talk. Alabama star wide receiver Ryan Coleman-Williams is entering year 3 in Tuscaloosa. He's already set to get a degree. He's still just 19 years old, and he's become a leader in the locker room. He had a chance to leave, even though he didn't have a great sophomore season still. A lot of people would have taken him in NIL, but head coach Kalen DeBoer spoke recently about Coleman-Williams' commitment to the Crimson Tide and how it is about more than just football.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that he's already in year 3. Time's flown by, and I guess first thing I wanted to say is how proud I am of what he is also off the field, not just on the field. And that's what everyone sees, but here's a guy that's going to have his degree by the end of December. And that's 2.5 years. He's a voice. He's one that guys count on. He's a great teammate. And then just, as far as your question, just with, the portal and him sticking around, man, he just, you think he made that commitment when he came. And, he's a guy that just stands by his word. And, I know that there's a lot of opportunities that probably have come across his plate in one way or another. And, I just appreciate who he is as a person and, what he wants to do here at Alabama.
All right, Rob, we spent a lot of time on the roster, but I didn't want you to comment on Ryan Coleman-Williams. And from the standpoint of what he did as a freshman, impressive. Maybe took a step back last year, but he's got the talent. He's got the commitment. He knows, I think, if he wants to go to the NFL after his junior season, he's going to need a big year. And a big year for him could be, a big year for that Alabama offense.
Look, I think, too, Gary, the addition of Derek Nix as a wide receivers coach, he's coached some really good ones. He coached some really good ones at Auburn last year and did a fantastic job with him. I think this could help Ryan Williams a lot. Obviously, he's got to grow in terms of understanding routes, how to run routes, all of those things. He's got all the natural tools, but I think Derek Nix is really going to help him refine the things that he does as a receiver.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Well, Terrion Arnold has cleared waivers after being released by the Detroit Lions. Arnold was released by the Lions last week following that arrest in Florida on felony charges of armed robbery and kidnapping. The second-year cornerback was taken into custody and was able to post a $1 million bond set by the Hillsborough County judge in Tampa, Florida. He's required to remain in residence in Florida except for approved activities like NFL workouts and employment opportunities. He was released by the Lions. Listen, he's still got some legal issues, but it looks like he'll have a chance to play football again if he can clear the legal hurdles. Well, still to come on Tider Insider Television, Bama in the NBA update after free agency tipped off last week. Plus, Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide got some good news earlier today. Everybody talking about a point guard. Alabama not going to find a point guard. Man, this is Nate Oates. Yep. They got him a point guard for this season. And a little bit later on, we'll be taking your phone calls, emails, and tweets, 205-348-9882. This is the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, Tider Insider TV. All right, Alabama basketball, as we know, needed a point guard for this coming season as we welcome you back into TITV. And they had already gotten a commit from five-star guard Anderson Diaz, but he was in next year's class. But you know what? Preston Murphy, Nate Oates, they had a plan. He has reclassified. He is going to be joining the team for this season. And Ronnie, this just isn't a point guard now. This is a legit five-star talent.
Watch his video. Who does he remind you of? Mark Sears. Watch him, Gary. Some of the moves he makes, the way he goes to the basket.
Uses
he's real
his body
strong,
to fend off the defender.
Do so many different things. And, this is a huge pickup. Look, we're still waiting kind of to be determined on Aiden Holloway. So this could, if Holloway comes back and you have both these guys, it's going to be really big.
Yeah, so Alabama gets its point guard for the upcoming season. And more basketball news. Nate Oates going to square off with Rick Pitino. We've seen this matchup before as the St. John's Red Storm is coming to Birmingham for a game at Legacy Arena on December the 12th. This is the return game of the home and home. Remember last year Alabama beat St. John's handily up in Madison Square Garden, 103-96. It was an unbelievable ball game. This is a part of this Alabama schedule, Rodney, that, again, I'm just saying this based on my knowledge of Alabama's schedule. I haven't seen everybody else's schedule. I can't imagine a tougher schedule in the country.
And that's, again, we talked about what it does for you. I think once you get into SEC play, Gary, it certainly prepares them.
And as you already mentioned, hopefully Aiden Holloway will be back. Now you got Diaz. They brought in some transfers. I expect Alabama, again, as they do every year under Nate Oates, to have a roster that's a NCAA tournament Sweet 16 type team and hopefully beyond.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last year. It took a little while for that team to mesh together. They had to overcome a lot of adversity. Of course, Phylon was really big, Gary, but this is going to be a real interesting group to watch.
All right, NBA free agency opened up last week. Former Alabama point guard Kalen Sexton's on the move again, going from the windy city of Chicago to La La Land. He signed a 2-year, $19 million deal with the Lakers. Hey, listen, man, he's going to be playing with Doncic. He's going to be playing in Los Angeles, so this is a great opportunity for Kalen Sexton. And also, Keon Ellis, former junior college player. I liked him at Alabama. He was undrafted. He's carved out a career in the NBA, and he signs a 2-year guaranteed contract for $18 million with the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets need some help. He can shoot it from 3. He can guard. He can play different positions. I think it's a nice pickup. Of course, he'll be teaming again now with Noah Clowney there in Brooklyn. And according to NBA's transaction log, former Alabama guard LeBaron Phylon has signed his rookie deal with the 76ers. 22nd overall pick. This 76ers team, they, bringing in Jaylen Brown, they're looking to win a championship. Phylon, I think, will be a big part of that. Extremely talented. He seems to be excited there in Philly. Well, still to come on TITV, former Alabama baseball shortstop Jim Jarvis is back with the Braves and making plays. And coming up next, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, that phone number 205-348-9882. We want to hear from you, Tider Insider Nation, next. Former Alabama shortstop Jim Jarvis is back up for a second stint with the Atlanta Braves, and he's making plays. He got his first big league RBI with this bloop single. Now listen, looks like a line drive in the box score. Just hit it where they ain't. Braves split a 4-game series with the Mets. Unfortunately, they won the first 2 and lost the second 2 by 1 run in 1-run games. But this guy's he's great with the glove. He is great in the field. And if he can hit a little bit, he could really help the Braves here in the second half of the season. All right, welcome back into the program. The Decades Pub and Grub Hotline is open for business at 205-348-9882. And that is where we're going to find, is it Jimmy in Jasper? All right, Jimmy, you're on with Tider Insider TV. Jimmy and Jasper, are you there? All right, well, all right, let's, but we do have his question. He wanted to know, when will Noah Rogers return, Rodney? You were talking about the talented wide receiver earlier.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a definitive date. I think, Gary, probably sometime in October, late October, maybe November. We'll see. Again, depends on how he progresses.
All right, Jimmy, thank you for that. Good question. And, yeah, I think he'll be back this season. That's good news. Would have loved to have had him at the start of the season, but imagine what a punch he could add late in the 2026 season. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break, get back on time. We're going to come back with our email question of the day and talk about former Alabama golfer Lee Hodges having a big weekend at the John Deere Classic. 205-348-9882 is the number. We'll be right back with more TITV after this timeout. And welcome back to Tider Insider Television alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris, and let's get to the Decades Pub and Grub Hotline. Decades Pub and Grub, great food downtown Tuscaloosa at Timerson Square. Davis in Northport is with us. Hey, Davis. All right, I don't know what's going on with the phone lines. Do we have his question? When will the official SEC schedule be released? Davis, it's good news. It's been released. It's at rolltide.com. Still, some of the kickoff times and television assignments have not been made, but the entire schedule is available at rolltide.com. All right, let's get to our email question of the day. Our email question of the day is brought to you by KDM Service Corporation when it comes to heating and air conditioning, serving your family like our family. Ricky in Mobile wants to know, when will Ryan Coleman-Williams return punts this season, Rodney?
Oh, that's a good question. Don't know. We'll see. They've got a lot of guys that are capable of doing that, Gary. Be interesting to see if Ryan's one of those.
All right, he certainly has the talent. Who we got next? All right, we got a phone call. Let's try to see if we get a phone call actually on the air. Bill in Birmingham. Hey, Bill. Nope, just not our night for phone calls. I don't know if we're having an issue. Bill, are you there? All right. Will the DB room be top 5 in the SEC?
Look, I don't know how they can't be top 5 in the country with the talent that they've recruited. I think it's a fantastic group that they have, Gary. I don't know anybody that's got more depth, quality depth.
Well, thanks for the phone calls. We didn't actually get to hear anybody. I may call during the break to make sure that you can go through. But, all right. What are we doing? Okay, we'll be back with more Tider Insider TV. That's what I was trying to do. We'll be back right after this. Well, Lee Hodges, former Alabama golfer, won already one time on the PGA Tour. He almost got number 2. He made a strong push at the John Deere Classic over the weekend up in Illinois. He finished tied for 3rd. He was tied for the lead going to the final round. Came up just a little bit short, but still, that really helped him as far as FedEx Cup points are concerned and for the rest of the season. So Bama and the PGA Tour, I love watching those guys. And Lee Hodges, look at that bomb right there, finishes tied for 3rd up in Illinois at the John Deere Classic. And now, of course, this week we have a couple more tournaments, one over here and one at the Scottish Open. Then next week it is the Open Championship. All right, we did check the phone line. So people called in and they didn't stay on the line with us. So I want to make sure it was working. But we did get their questions in, Rodney, and we were trying to get back on time. Now we got a little extra time to kill. So I will let you follow up on the kickers because you're expecting a really tight competition there between those two guys.
I am. I think obviously Talty at the last half of the season really took a step. But Lorcan Quinn, the things we saw from him, the transfer from Marshall, he was really smooth. We saw him in A-Day. Gary's got great technique. The thing I really like about him, his body language, his technique, he was smooth. He nailed a couple of 47-yarders like they were extra points.
Yeah, of course, you can't count Talty out.
No, not at all.
He's been through the fire of the SEC.
Yeah, just like I want to be clear, I'm not counting Austin Mack out. We talk a lot about Keelan Russell. Yeah, those two guys are really good.
That's why they call it competition. Yep, that's for sure. All right, Rod, good stuff. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Tider Insider Television, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. A reminder, if you missed any of the show, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 or anytime online at WVUA23.com. We're going to leave you tonight with one of the most popular college softball players ever, former Alabama pitcher Montana Fouts, who's now in the AUSL, and as a professional pitcher, she's doing some great things. She set the single-season wins record with her 7th win, coming in a 5-4 win against the Carolina Blaze back on July 4th. She can still bring the heat. Way to go, Montana Fouts. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll talk to you again next week. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. This has been Tider Insider TV. Good night, everybody.
78th pitch for Fouts upcoming. And she strikes out the side. Fouts strikes out Goodwin, Garcia, and McClain.